Hello, this is the Yes California Calexit Congress for today's date, May 30th. Apologize, we don't have the ticker banner up. Very big day. As you can see, we're getting ready for the gubernatorial recall candidates debate that will be here at 2 p.m. So 2 p.m. here at the Yes California channel. You can watch the only recall candidates debate. We have we have 13 candidates we're in contact with. You'll see 8 of them today. It's going to be a tight show, but a lot of people there. No one's interviewing recall candidates, and no one's having this many people at one debate stage, and you'll be able to watch it live. It's brought to you by Yes California. We're the only ones even attempting to inform California voters about who may potentially lead the world's 5th largest economy, the nation state of California. Today, we were going to do a special interview on Nicholas Wildstar and his campaign. Let me give him a call real quick and see if I can get him real quick. Just one second. I promised Nick that we would do a half hour on his campaign and questions about it, so I want to make sure we give him an opportunity. Hey, are you down to come on to a show? All good, all good. I'll do the intro and I'll see you in a little bit. No rush at all. Okay, peace. All right, okay, bye. Candidate Wildstar will be with us shortly. I'll go ahead and do the introduction. So this week there was a lot in the news. One of the things that grabbed me, especially considering what we're trying to do here at Yes California, which is have the most important conversation Californians can have. What does it mean that we act like a nation than a state? Well, recently, the California government said that they are going to consider Joe Biden's advice on wearing masks. They will look into it, decide on their own, and release their own guidance at their own time scale. So what I like is that the federal government said, here's the guidance we have on mask wearing and coronavirus. And California immediately said, yeah, you're not the orange one, but just because you said it doesn't mean we're doing it. We'll come up with our own guidance and we'll release it at our own schedule as we choose. Californians famously did this to Donald Trump and used the word nation state, and everybody celebrated it. Now, this time that word wasn't used, but it was the exact same act. It was the federal government giving guidance on a pandemic, and then California saying, nah, just because you said it doesn't mean we're going to do it. They did it to Donald Trump, and now this week we've done it to Joe Biden. Additionally, there's an article out by Joe Matthews. Let me see if I can grab that real quick, where he talks about the Supreme Court. And he talks about how we Californians may need to be ready to ignore what the Supreme Court says. As for the current justices, here's a warning. Respect for the law is foundational, but respect for judges is conditional. If you persist in open bias against our state, don't be surprised if citizens, sorry about that. One second here. If citizens defy your rulings, seek removal from the bench, or change forever the court on which you sit. So that was from Joe Matthews. Let me pull up that article here real quick so that you can all see this. Joe Matthews is a major policy reporter, and he covers California politics. And he just well, okay. I'm having a little bit of difficulty finding it. One second. It's worth it to see it. This is important. Give me 1 second here. Sorry. Here we go. And then California. Okay, here we go. I'm going to show this to you real quick. Okay, so Joe Matthews is a major policy report. Zocalo Public Square is a major California think tank. By the way, in 2010, they had a discussion on should California secede and become a country. Here's California versus the Supreme Court. What he's saying is that Donald Trump may be gone, but the Supreme Court's permanently conservative, and they're going to start tearing down rules and laws that Californians are familiar with. He was talking about a bunch of things concerning abortion to many other civil rights issues are going to be decided by the federal Supreme Court in the next couple months. So Trump's gone, but the Supreme Court is still here, and it's more conservative than it has been in 60 years, and it's about to overtake many civil rights issues. If it turns against them, then Californians are going to see their civil rights taken away, something we've routinely talked about. And here he talks about how at the very end, hey, Supreme Court of Federal Government, if you persist in open bias against California, don't be surprised if citizens defy your rulings. That's called nullification. It was last seen by South Carolina in 1865. So I'll put that link up. But I just like to point out that this is a reasonable conversation because a major policy reporter in a major policy think tank is saying, why don't we have nullification of federal rules? I didn't make him say that. He decided to say that on his own. Joe Matthews is not part of this organization. Why is he saying things similar to us, all on his own, independent of us? Why is he pointing out to the Supreme Court, which we have done? Biden is still the shill that dropped the page. That's right, Jack B. Jack B. Biden is still the shill that did that. Jack, if you want to join the stream, just email. I'll send you the link. And please keep those comments coming. We'll get into it. So Nicholas Wildstar is here, and we're going to cover that. But first, Nick, if you could hold on for about 5 minutes, Nick, we'll get right to you. I got to cover an emergency issue. I love that jacket, dude. Seriously. You always look slick. I mean, doesn't it look slick with the plain shirt and the jacket? It looks like James Bond in the 60s and 70s, right? Like,
it's a really nice color of blue, too.
Right? It matches. This is the part of the show where everybody can compliment Nick and how good he looks in the jacket. So if you want to say something nice about Nicholas Wildstar.
It looks very nice, Nicholas.
You guys are incredible. His head is so tiny.
Yeah, it reminds me of the James Bond look in the 70s and stuff. He looked real slick. And I was for Idris Elba being the next Bond. Okay, I want to go on record saying that. I was an Idris fan. I thought Idris should have been the next Bond. I want to say that. Okay. Jack B says, I'm in a good, but I'm just going to listen today. Okay. So we're going to get into a little bit of housekeeping. It's going to take a few minutes, but we need to document this. I'm going to turn it over to Jason Wright, who I routinely rely on to handle many of the most complex issues. Jason's going to talk for a few minutes, and we'll get through this. And then we're going to go to a half-an-hour discussion about candidate Nicholas Wildstar, who he is, what he's about, why you should consider him, and why we're happy to support him here at againstcalifornia.org. Nick, thanks for holding on for us. For the next 5 minutes, Jason, please walk us through this event, whatever the right way to characterize it is. I'm watching my words because I haven't really looked into it to the extent you have. I'm looking to your leadership, Jason. Please hold my hand and walk me through like a 5-year-old child. What's going on? What happened? What do we need to do? Jason Wright.
Well, legally speaking, there is slander, libel, defamation of character. There is infringement of copyright and trademark going on. The channel Red Star Report. This is my official statement as part of Yes California to the Red Star Report. I am doing it this way since they seem to only copy our videos and use portions of our videos, including my name and my likeness. And as a YouTube content creator, that means, you know, they're doing a little something extra against the YouTube rules. Not exactly crime, but it is a serious violation of YouTube policy. Given that they only steal our content for their use, I decided that this would really be the only way I could get the message home to them that, yeah, there is going to be a lawsuit if they do not pull down any and all content that breaks these laws and rules. YouTube mandates that I reach out or at least attempt to contact them and let them know that they are in gross violation before I file another report with them. So, Red Star Report, this is your wake-up call. If by next Sunday you have uploaded anything else containing our content and have not removed all content that is not yours, that you do not have permission to use, that was our original content, if you do not remove anything and everything that has my name, my likeness, my image, and my voice recorded on it, then you will be facing legal action. Also, I will be sure to include anyone and everyone applicable. So it will most likely be a large group of people versus one or two perpetrators, and all of the evidence is clear. So again, if by next Sunday you have not pulled all offending content and or have posted more stolen content that was originally us, then you will be facing legal action. Thank you for letting me say that, Marcus.
So just to be clear, this is what we are talking about. This, and I don't even like talking about other Calexit groups at all. In fact, we have a policy to not even do that. And we have discouraged people from doing that. I find it a gigantic distraction, and it is. However, as Jason brought up to me, this is getting into legal stuff. Like, politics is a rough game. I get it. And then there's crossing a line. And I'm not saying that happened. I'm relying on Jason and others, but I will point out, here's the video. It's called Russia, 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 Russia. They took our show. They clipped it to make it look like we're all Russian spies, and here's Jason's name. And so everybody is in this and shown, and then they clipped it to make it look like we're all supporting Vladimir Putin. And that's not true at all. Things were taken massively out of context, but they obviously took our show. And so the appearance is that everybody on the show is down with whatever narrative they're presenting in this video, which is not true. Now, I'm okay with taking criticism of being a Russian spy. I'm not, but I've dealt with it for years. But I don't expect anybody else to do that. And when we did these shows, we were very clear that we don't tolerate this and that we were cleared from 3 different investigations. So the idea that we love this kind of stuff and we're all about it is ridiculous. But here you go. Here's one specifically where it's supposed to look like me saying I took, so it's all Vladimir Putin, Russia, we take Russian rubles, etc. It's called Yes Cal, Russia, Russia, Russia. It's from this channel called the Red Star Report. By the way, I'll just point out, here's an interview with Michael Loebs. That's a CNP member. Here's an interview with Hal Lohr. That's an Independent California member.
Is this group is this anti Calexit or a rival Calexit group?
This is a rival Calexit group, anti-Yes California. So here's a Yes California slam. Here's another Yes California slam. I'm just pointing out that when we're wondering who it is, here's Hal Lohr. Here's Hal Lohr. Here's Hal Lohr. So I don't know who's doing this. Here's Michael Loebs. I don't know who's doing this. I'm not saying anything.
Well, and we don't legally need to know who the perpetrators are. YouTube already knows. and YouTube will be going after them if they do not pull their content. Also, it should be noted there are 2 candidates for governor who they are slandering.
I'll say that this email says Hal G. Lore. I'm not saying that's Hal Lore as I know it. I'm just saying the name is Hal G. Lore. And on the videos, here's Hal, here's Hal, here's Hal. Now, I don't know who's doing anything. I have no idea. Just pointing some facts out. So, somebody's saying Russia, 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 Russia. It's got Hal Lore's name all over it. And it's slamming and slanderous and not true and is exactly the kind of thing that we were rumored about 3 years ago and disproven by 3 different investigations. So, Jason, any last minute comments?
Me.
And it is mostly stolen content. Stolen content. They do not have any permission to use any of that stuff from us, yet they do it.
I would like to add something on. Jason, I'm with you. If you want to contact me, because I don't appreciate being up there in their channel. I feel like I'm going to be unsafe going out now.
Can I say something to that effect? All of these videos are public. I mean, they're documented publicly. They're on public record via YouTube and Facebook or whatever other social media platform. So I don't see how there would be any way they could be, I guess, targeted legally or any legal action taken against them because of that. I myself, I have a YouTube channel that's pretty popular, and some of the activity that happens on there is considered to be similar to that of a sovereign citizen. And there's anti-sovereign citizen YouTubers out there where my videos have been on there, and they've called me Sob-tard and all types of other pictures. And those were really good quality videos. I mean, they put a lot of work in that too. They had graphics and stuff. So if anything, I see it as more publicity for Yes California. I mean, really, I mean, even though it isn't, of course, in our favor, and they're doing their best to try to slander Yes California, it does bring more attention to Calexit. It does bring more attention to Yes California. So those people out there, I mean, I as a candidate, like I said, I'm used to having my name dragged through the mud. So, but for anybody else that's involved, if your fear is that you will be somehow targeted by those people that do not agree with our message, your foot is already in the door. So you may want to, again, consider that just by being involved, that you are a public figure at this point, and you are involved with a public organization. So transparency is key, I believe. And we have been seeing that to some degree on behalf of Yes California. So those people that do not agree with Calexit or the California independence movement, that's another story. It just seems as if this group in particular, these people involved, have a beef with Yes California only, you know? So that's it, you know?
Thank you, Nick.
Yeah, and I do mostly agree there. I would counter that why this is able to have legal action taken is because, well, one, incitement. I mean, we've got someone saying that they don't exactly feel safe knowing now that their name and likeness has also been used in such a manner.
Yeah, in court, that's what the would say.
Yeah, I would also point out that though we do, do this very publicly, it, at least for YouTube, it falls there's a very clear set of rules. It falls under stolen content. So when YouTubers go and they do like reaction videos, right? Even some of the most popular, most beloved YouTubers who do these reaction videos, if they do it with the wrong content, they get flagged for stolen content, and they get fined, and they get a strike on their channel. Too many strikes on your channel gets removed. That's because YouTube agrees that just because someone posts something, it doesn't mean that it's no longer their content.
That is true.
If I may, I don't want to bog down on this because it's a distraction. So I've always said, drama is not activism. When you're doing drama, guess what you're failing at? Activism. We're on the verge of having the recall candidates debate. And I can't tell you the number of people calling in and asking, and reporters. And here's another group throwing some dirt so that we spend time looking at something that has no impact on moving the message forward. It's a distraction. However, Nick is right in that if you are a public candidate, you kind of sign up for a certain amount of things. And as myself as a spokesperson, and Lewis, I agree to that. But what I disagree is that this is not a spokesperson campaign. This is a community meeting of regular citizens coming together. None of you signed up for harassment. And as president of Yes California, I will not tolerate harassment at all. So even if it's okay, I don't put up with it, nor will I. Early on when we launched Yes California, there were people issuing threats. In fact, someone threatened Jason, and I stuck my foot in there and let it be known that I'll go nuclear in a second if you want to threaten any of my people. I'm that guy. So I do not tolerate any of my people being harassed. I do not tolerate any Yes California staff being harassed. I do not tolerate anyone coming in good dialogue and being harassed. It's inappropriate. If you want to come for public candidates, or if you want to come for me as president, hey, I signed up for it. The rest of it is regular people who are here for a discussion. You know, Carlos was here to talk and express his feelings, and now he has to be intimidated?
I was here to talk about how bad Biden's doing, in my opinion.
Exactly. So people are here for a regular discussion. Nick, I totally agree with you. A lot of people have to be signing up for it, but my God, Nick, I've seen half the stuff you go through, half the stuff you put up with. You are a saint. An average human would never put up with those things. I mean, especially the thing with Jeff Hewitt. You have had to do things and tolerate things in order to get into the political system, and you're a beautiful human for doing it. But at the same time, it was a lot of garbage you had to put up with. I can't ask regular people to do that. You have to approach sainthood to be able to run in politics this day. And in my opinion, you are a saint for doing that. But at the same time, no. You want to attack and you want to slam regular people for having a conversation? That is undemocratic. That is slander. And that is intimidation. You are intimidating people, and I will have absolutely no tolerance for that at all. We have 3 lawyers I have contact to. I am now directly ordering Jason to please contact this official contact on this official channel and tell him to take that down now. If you don't, we're going to take it to the next level. I personally promise you. I'm the wrong person to screw around with intimidating people on. I will tolerate a lot myself. I will not tolerate people who join Yes California being intimidated because they wanted to have a conversation. Won't happen. So that's enough of this unpleasantness. Let's move on to the next segment. We're going to have a debate with a recall candidate. His name is Nicholas Wildstar. I'd like to get into that. Here's, check this. Jason has a comment. Let me post that up for everybody. Jason, do you want me to show your email, or this is just private chat?
That's just private chat. Yeah,
okay. That's
for Carlos mainly. I think everyone else already has my email. But yes, Carlos, anyone, if you feel at risk, if you feel under threat or under duress from this situation occurring, if you wish to be included in this action, My email is in there. For anyone who's watching who does not have my email, please reach out to Marcus. Let him know that you wish to be included on all of this. He will put us in touch with each other, and I will make sure that you are included.
And I just want a special message for whoever's doing this. I'm not saying I know who's doing this. I'm simply pointing out information that was publicly available on the site. I'm not saying I know who does this, but whoever's doing this, I want you to know something about yourself. You are intimidating young voters. Carlos is, 18, 19 in his 20s, and you are scaring young Californians from wanting to participate in politics through intimidation and potential threats of violence. How disgusting of you. You want to intimidate children and the youth from participating in democracy, and so you slam their names? You should be ashamed of yourself. You are a bad person, and you are discriminating against young people, and you are not helpful to Californians. Shame on you. I'll leave it there. Okay, moving on to what's actually important. Again, like I like to say, this is why I don't bring up drama. We just spent 20 minutes talking about something that has nothing to do with promoting our message at all. Now, it's important, and we did it, but it's done. Time to move on. Because I've learned that other people in activism, a lot of activist groups failed because they focused on drama. Occupy Wall Street was one of my favorite ones. Occupy Wall Street might have actually reformed banking. They might have actually got the Glass-Steagall Act reinstated. Glass-Steagall Act never actually got fixed. The banking industries never actually got brought to justice, and now we're going into the second recession with banks bought out. Why did they do that? Because Occupy Wall Street got into debates amongst their members about we didn't stand for LGBTQ rights and pet rights and this issue and that issue and this issue, and had this issue of 30 things, and one of them was banking. And they tore themselves apart because they had different opinions that were not essential to their main issue. And now none of us have any reform on banking, any bankers in trouble, and now a second bailout of the banks has happened. So good job, Occupy. You got distracted by non-essential things and let all of us down. That's called #losing, and it will not happen while I'm president. Be clear. Okay, now let's have a recall candidates debate. Our candidate is, and I got something very special for you, Nicholas Wildstar. There is his website, Wildstar 2022. He is running in the recall election, and he's running in the 2022 election. So he has two chances. You got two chances to get Nick in there. Nick's a personal friend of mine. He's a colleague of mine. I have watched him for over a year and a half. And one of the things that I always say about Nick is that the only thing you're missing is money. And that's the biggest compliment I can give, is that I've worked in Sacramento. I've met politicians. I've been in politics. I've gone on TV. And a lot of these people are not qualified to be leaders. They can't really answer questions. They don't know how to deal with the public. They freeze up when there's in a difficult situation. And say what you will about politicians, but the ability to go out and meet people, the public, and deal with whatever they say and have a conversation with them as they come to you, that's important. And I don't care what virtue signaling someone does or how pretty they are or how many accolades. If you cannot talk to Joe and Jane or Javier Q public, you shouldn't be leader. Well, Nick Wildstar can. As I joke, you can drop him into any hot zone and he'll come out with signatures, a smile, and 3 new voters. So the guy, I've seen him, I've gone to him with him into many different cities up and down California, conservative districts, liberal districts, and it's always the same reaction. Wherever people are at, he meets them and he converts folks. Now, not everybody ends up being a Nick Wildstar supporter, but a lot of them stop and have a 30-minute conversation with the guy. And if you are a politician and you can get a voter to go, I was sure it was X and now I don't know if it's not X anymore. That's called suspension of disbelief, or it's called the shadow of doubt, and it's when people begin to change their minds. It's brilliant. Nick has it. The only thing he's lacking is money. That's why I like Nick. So we're going to spend 30 minutes talking about Nick and questions about who he is. I have a few questions. Nick, I hope that you're available for conversational dialogue. and taking questions from myself. So if you are in comments, please ask questions of Nick Wildstar about his candidacy. If you are on YouTube, send in comments. We will feed those in through now. I can already see comments coming in. Here's my first question for Nick Wildstar, but if you're commenting, please post comments. We'll get those to Nick Wildstar. If you have any questions, please say that. We'll get that to Nick Wildstar. So, Nick,
Yes.
One thing that I've noticed about you was that, and I told you this, you were Recall before Recall was fun, right? I think I'm half Okie. My dad listened to a lot of Reba McEntire, and there was a song, I was country before country was cool, before country was cool. You were doing Recall when nobody was doing Recall, like nobody. And it was this distant dream, and I saw you, and you were hustling as hard now as you were then, going, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. I'm telling you. So what is it that you saw way before anybody else saw? And why were you sure this recall was going to happen when almost everybody was like, I don't see it. What is it that you saw before everybody else that got you convinced this is going to happen? And how come you saw something almost everybody else skipped, like a year out? First question, please keep feeding questions to Nicholas Wildstar.
Absolutely. Well, hello first to all of you out there, and thank you for being here. Is there an echo? All right. Hope you can hear me clearly now. Well, thank you for that incredible introduction. Also, Marcus, that was extremely flattering. And as you said, I basically was able to pick up on the tone of the people in demand of recall of Gavin Newsom. Mainly because of my extensive involvement in community activism. I was actually involved in the Occupy Wall Street protests, those versions out here in California. Occupy LA, Occupy Orange County, Occupy San Diego, just all over SoCal. And I did see the growing disconcern of the people with government and that demand for a more accountable government. And I've seen the different factions section off. And one of those was Occupy Congress, Occupy government. And that was what I was out there promoting. So I was actually promoting the recall of Jerry Brown at that time, trying to get everybody to get him out of office. Because when I first moved to California in '99, I was a teenager, and basically my entire adulthood has been out here in California. And a few years living here, I saw the people of California demand a recall of Gray Davis, a Democratic governor. And as liberal and left-leaning and democratic socialists as people have painted California across America, they removed a Democratic governor and replaced him with Arnold Schwarzenegger, a Republican of all people at that time. So I started to, again, see the development of the people of California, and being from Wisconsin, going through this culture shock, learning the people of California, what mattered to them the most. And the California values, the people here in this state, what we value the most is completely different than what others across the state even care about. We're very involved in social activity, whether it be homelessness, whether it be, abuse of family members, whether it be, sexual orientation, anything having to do with it. So Californians, we address those issues. And of course, we also have a fiscal demand as well. We are the fifth largest economy in the world, and we produce a lot of money. And at the same time, we have failing systems, failing school systems, failing healthcare systems. We pay a lot of money in taxes, and we have shitty roads. Excuse me for saying that such a way, but it's just honest. And we also expect people to be honest. There's a lot of people that hide behind facades due to the Hollywood stereotype, but not everybody behaves that way. So there's a certain level of accountability and responsibility there in the community, and I knew that. So I again was out there protesting a recall Jerry Brown and promoting myself as a replacement candidate in 2014. And when he got elected and stayed in office, and I soon saw them grooming Gavin Newsom to replace him, I, did my homework into him, saw what he did in San Francisco as mayor, and I'm like, this guy is not what the people of California want. He's completely the opposite. So when he did get elected, I knew immediately that people would start protesting to have him recalled, and they were. There were multiple attempts to recall Gavin Newsom as soon as he took office, and mainly because of the first few actions that he took when he took office in 2019. He immediately expanded government by adding more additions to CAL FIRE and in an attempt to stop the wildfires, but we see that hasn't happened. He, of course, continued to overtax us for gas, and supposedly that money was to go for infrastructure improvements. It hadn't, and he was even sued in court because of this. So he was lying, and of course, when it came to the homeless issue, he just ignored that completely. So the people of California were already upset with what he was doing before this pandemic. That just was basically the straw that broke the camel's back. So I was out there campaigning for mayor of Fresno at the time, and I signed a recall. I actually have an interview during that time where I was telling people, because they were asking me which recall should we sign, which recall petition. I think the most popular one at that time was the RAND or something like that, RAND petition. But I just said sign them all. Anytime somebody comes up to you with a petition to recall Newsom, sign them all. The one that gets the most signatures is the one that qualifies. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. All of them fell short. But once the pandemic hit and that growing sentiment and demand for his recall was now expanding and growing and bringing in more people, thankfully, the people that also wanted to see Gavin Newsom be removed from office continued forth with that effort. And they were successfully able to file a petition. And I jumped on that immediately. I was one of the first candidates to start promoting the recall, as well as get involved in the process by having people sign the recall petition. I was out there since June, sitting outside of Walmart 2 days a week, even traveling up and down the state with Marcus to also collect signatures for the Yes California petition, which was also being circulated at that time. And I was basically on double duty, doing both, getting people to sign both petitions. And I did this.
And you did great.
Oh, thank you very much. And
multitasking. Let me stop you there, Nick, if I may, just because questions are coming in.
Sure.
And I want to get to the serious policy stuff. We said we were going to ask questions of you on serious policy things. So they're coming in. Here's the first one. Sorry, Nick. I just want to make sure people get a good version of everything you've thought of, because one of the things that I've gently poked you about is that you are a deep thinker and you have really thought about every proposal, but it's not always visible. A lot of your videos are very conversational and they're introductory. And I'm like, I can talk to you for 3 hours and you'll just go off on any topic with constant information and this and that. And I'm like, people need to see this really dry, boring 3-hour-long presentation, because it shows that when you say I've thought about something, you did. And you can't see that unless you go into the super long. So without
everything is a sound bite, unfortunately. I guess long story short, I saw it coming because I know the people of California and what matters to them the most.
Yeah, the game's played a certain way, but
He assumes he does.
Oh yeah. So we're going to show off that Nick has some real policy perspectives that he's looked into. Sometimes unique issues, but definitely well thought of and looked at. Here's the first one. How do you feel about criminal justice reform and ending the prison industrial complex? Criminal justice reform and the prison industrial complex. Nicholas Wildstar.
That's another long-winded answer, but I'll do.
Well, let's do 5 minutes. If you have a 5-minute
answer. Leave that up on the screen if you would, please.
Yes.
So, Camby's
most efficient.
Yes. So with regards to criminal justice reform, I'm a champion of that. I myself am a police abuse survivor and have actually challenged police officers in court for their abuses of authority, as well as, again, their civil rights violations, and I've won. And so I know with regards to how the law operates, that there is certain types, common law, commercial law, and its application to we the people versus the citizenry. So there's a whole legal society, a whole law society that exists and then that is being imposed on free people. So there's lots of policies that are being imposed upon us that shouldn't be. So when you hear the word politician, just know that that's the technical term. That's the individual's job, is to deal with policies. Their real job is public representative. Okay? And there's nothing to that other than just doing what the public wants and represent what they want. Being put in a public position like governor. So all of these policies that exist, as a politician, I will be doing my job to reform our criminal justice system, to remove those policies that conflict with our civil rights, that conflict with our human rights. And in doing so, we will have a much freer and happier society. This will also make our legal system much more lax than it is now. It has way too much control. It's intimidating, it's threatening. Even driving your own car poses a threat to both you, your family, and your safety. And that should not be a way to exist. So I will be heavy-handedly reforming our criminal justice system. And our prison system is part of that as well, albeit there's a lot of people saying that there should not be such a thing as private prisons. Why should we, the people, have to pay for people to be prisoned? What we can do is make policies to where those prisons are based on reforming an individual and providing rehabilitative services. That way they aren't being treated inhumanely and being caged up like animals. So those are the rules we can impose on these private companies that choose to, again, house our prisoners. Now, if they want to provide services to the community or private services, whether they're in there, creating products or whatever the case may be, they should also pay those people. I was actually talking to Jason about this because some of the prisoners are employed by the state to go out and fight wildfires and paid pennies compared to what our firefighters are paid. And then once they are released from prison, because they may have a felony on their record or a criminal record in general, they aren't able to be even employed. So what we can be doing is make it to where there's a path to livelihood once those people get out. If you do a job in prison, you'll actually get paid a wage, a living wage, and that'll be saved and put away for you for when you get out of jail. You also get credits to use on commissary and all of that stuff to take care of you while you're in there, and earn outdoor time and all that good stuff. But at least when that person gets out of there, They have a safety net there for them that's not funded by taxpayers. They earned it. And again, we'll give them a letter of recommendation maybe to help them in finding a career path. So these are innovative ways that I believe we can improve our criminal and our criminal justice system as well as our prison system. Was that
Gotta
fine?
stop you there. Gotta stop you there. You had a good answer. I'm sorry, the questions keep rolling in, and I want to make I want to let people have a wide variety of the many flavors of Nick Wildstar. How do you keep California businesses here in California, Governor Wildstar?
Easy. Less taxes, less regulation, period. And that's exactly what I'll do as governor. My Phoenix initiative addresses that by saying immediately once I'm elected governor, I will be suspending all taxes. That's business tax, that's payroll tax, that's income tax, that's property tax, that's capital gains tax, luxury tax. Every tax will be suspended, and government will be shifting to a non-taxpayer revenue generated operating system. So that's my plan, is to basically allow businesses to have a less regulated business atmosphere, not charge them, millions of dollars to, again, employ people and build the economy of our state. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Here's another question. Just want to get this in. People are saying taxes no good. So if anybody,
They're not voluntary. Make it voluntary. People want to pay taxes, let them pay. But then it's not taxes. They're donations, they're contributions, and that's how we should be existing in a free society. Voluntarily give what you want to what you want.
next question. Then we're going to get to a question from Jack B. Devil War says he will vote for you, so I guess you just moved up in the election. For another one from Mr. Mostafizadeh, a Californian abroad. How do you feel about green energy regulations? And please keep those comments coming. You can ask anything you want from candidate Wildstar, anything you want. No questions are off, as long as they're about politics. How do you feel about green energy regulation? Nicholas Wildstar.
Well, I definitely think the ones that exist right now seem to be based on favoritism and providing more exceptions to the companies that have put us in this situation to begin with. So I'm actually proposing through my Gold New Deal. If you want to visit my website right there and check out the Gold New Deal on my website, it talks about it more. But I would like for the state of California to shift to renewable energies and have the profits of that. There we go, right there. Beautiful. Thank you. I would like for the profits of that to go to the people of California. I think that would help build generational wealth. So if we were to, per se, create our own public-owned utility, we'd have our own power, we'd have our own water sources, and we wouldn't have to be reliant upon PG&E and SoCal Edison, which of course has proven to be unreliable with their rolling blackouts. They've proven to be a danger to the people of California through wildfires and faulty equipment that have killed hundreds of people. They haven't been held criminally liable, and that's exactly what I'll be doing as governor, is, charging them and sending them to jail for their crimes instead of rewarding them. I would rather reward the people of California. So what we can do again is shift to have our own public-owned utility. That way, every person in the state of California is getting free electricity and free water, not having to pay for basic things that we need to live. I mean, we live in a modern age. If those things were to be gone, we'd be in the dark ages, and Texas have proven that with their power issue over the summer. It left thousands of people, if not millions, hundreds of thousands. I'm not sure even how many, because it impacted such a large portion of the state. And even recently with the Colonial Pipeline shutdown, which we found out recently wasn't due to hackers. It was actually due to the CEO that just decided to flip the switch off. And that's the position that these corporatists have, is they can just shut the switch off, and we the people are left vulnerable because of that. And we shouldn't ever be put in that position. So as a conservative, I think it would serve us best to invest in ourselves. And that's exactly what we'll be doing by creating our own utility. And that'll be using solar, water, hydroelectricity, wind power, etc. Even considering nuclear energy, clean nuclear like thorium. So nothing is off the table with regards to that. I have a few people on my energy commission as well to help with that policy development. But again, if you'd like to find out more about my proposal to make California gold, check out my website, wildstar2022.com.
Okay, another question. I don't think this is exactly something you can easily answer as governor, but hey, we said we take any questions. So how do you feel about one world government they are trying to implement? I'm not sure you could do much about that as governor, but hey, what is your stance? We said we take all reasonable questions about policies. Nicholas Wildstock.
I certainly could do something as governor about that. Cut off their money. We've been funding them this entire time through our federal government, which I feel like has pledged too much allegiance to other superpowers across the world, whether it be, Israel or Saudi Arabia or whoever it may be. The money that we give out internationally in foreign aid should be used here in the United States for first and foremost. I don't believe any government official that is representing we, the people of America, should be pledging allegiance to another country at all. This definitely has to be unconstitutional, since a president cannot do such a thing. But we saw them pretty much violate that rule with Barack Obama's so-called, appointment to president of the UN at a short portion. And he was called at that time president of the world. So we should never have a unitarian government body, especially when that one seems to be more representative of one that's totalitarian and authoritarian. I believe that we should all continue to act as sovereign beings, and with America being its own sovereign nation, we should continue to behave as such. And with California being in its own independent state, as governor, that's what I'll be doing, is focusing on the independent state of California and the people of California benefiting because of that position. So I have no problem, facilitating relationships with world leaders to provide better products and services to the people of California, improve our trade relations, etc. But that'll be as far as it goes. And it'll be open to any and all. There will be no favoritism and and transparency, of course, the entire way.
Next question. For gubernatorial candidate Wildstar, will you commit here and now to the people of California live that if elected, you will not behave hypocritically, as we saw with Governor Newsom and the incident at the French restaurant?
I can promise you that. I'm not the type of person that lives as if other people should do as I say, but not as I do. I represent by example. And my involvement in his removal from office is a perfect example of that. While the people of California were out there demanding his recall because his removal because their businesses were shut down or they had lost their jobs or weren't able to send their kids to school. I was out there with them on the streets. When the people of California were out there in need of food and shelter, I was out there with them, providing them meals and helping them look for shelter. Um, I'm the type of person that where I feel like a leader should lead, not tell people what to do. So I'm not going to be governing from an ivory castle and be, sitting in Sacramento. You'll actually see me out there pounding the pavement, still doing what I've been doing. Only now I'm getting paid for it. I would love that, I've been out there, doing community cleanup projects as a volunteer, and Gavin Newsom is just doing it for show. So as a photo op, to say, hey, look, California, I'm doing something. I would have been doing that, so that's the type of governor that you're going to get with me being in office. Somebody that is going to be the warrior out there on the battlefield with you, not the general telling you what to do while you're out there on the front lines. I'll be out there on the front lines fighting alongside you.
And I just want to go on the record. You do not have to like the recall election. You don't have to like the recall election. You don't have to like the recall election. You don't have to like Nicholas Wildstar. But what we do here is have conversations and make sure that voters and the public get the information to make up their mind. One thing we do not do here is say that the elites get to choose who you should even hear about. It's actually up to you, the public, to decide who should be leader. Not a newspaper editor, not someone with $1 million, not someone who's been a campaign politician expert for decades. It really doesn't matter what their opinion is. Democracy is the public alone, an educated electorate, as the founding fathers of America called it, choosing amongst themselves alone who should be leader. So just again, you don't have to like the recall candidates. You don't have to like the recall. But what you should do as a Californian is find out who everybody is and make an informed decision for yourself. And you simply cannot do that without listening to all of the candidates. Nicholas Wildstar, another question for you. What is the biggest problem California faces? What is the number one priority on day one you would handle if elected to office? Nicholas Wildstar.
That's funny because I actually have a proposal I'm calling first 101, first 100 days in one. So, you know how as an elected official, we're asking what will they do in their first 100 days? Well, I'll be doing all of that in day one because I feel like there are so many issues that matter most to the people of California. And that's ranging all the way from, criminal justice reform to homelessness to, what's happened because of this pandemic panic. So I feel like all of those things need to be addressed immediately, which is why on day one, I'll be locking my door, closing myself in my office and emerge the next day a freer California because of those policy changes. So the way the recall works is once Governor Newsom is recalled and removed, the new governor takes office 10 days later. It's that fast. So I'll be prepared with my policy team to make those policy changes. We'll do a press release, a public one, just like this on a public forum. You won't have to go through Fox News or ABC or CNN or any other type of network. They'll have to come to you, okay? Because we're going to come to you. And I'm going to inform you of all of the things that we're going to do and expect that the very next day, all of those, policy impositions will be lifted, including these lockdown regulations.
Next question, keep the comments coming. Again, this is a little bit pushing the edge for governor candidates. However, California is a basically nation state. The last three governors have called it that. And its ability to influence affairs around the world is documented. What could or should California do to deal with overseas wars and the massive amount of military bases in California, Most Californians are not against or for the amount of military adventures that Americans seem to support. The Vietnam War was widely protested here in California. The Iraq War was widely protested here in California. The impetus to remove recruiters out of high schools started here in California. The idea of making it so school children did not have to have the Pledge of Allegiance started with a California father. So there's a lot of anti-war activism that's inherently here in California. Californians are not so much for military ventures abroad. What would you do, or could you do, as governor to address and reduce this issue?
Again, reduce the amount of funding that the people of California are investing into the military industrial complex. We contribute hundreds of millions of dollars each year towards that effort. We need to stop that. Again, I would love to, as governor, change our relationship with the federal government where we end the borrowing spending process. We don't need to be borrowing money from the federal government. Other states haven't. South Dakota didn't take any stimulus money from the federal government when this pandemic hit. The governor said no. And that's exactly what I'll be doing. We don't want your money. We're better off on our own. And we'd like to keep the money that we've been sending you here to help the people of California first. And when it comes to securing our borders, I feel like our troops will be better off there and having a position to where they're, again, able to defend our shores from any invading threat. And that's what needs to be done first and foremost is fortification of our state. You can drive into Mexico, and I love it because it feels free. And there's a bit of a prudish type of a way that the politicians involved, we elect prudish politicians, that feel like, they want to protect us from a particular group of people. But you're invited into Mexico and you can just drive across the border. I've done it several times. We should be doing the same thing to the people of Mexico, and that can come with an improvement of our relationship with their elected officials. We improve trade with the people of Mexico, then now we have nothing to fear. We relax our drug laws in the state of California. Now we don't have to worry about drug trafficking. We, again, decriminalize sex work. Now we can focus on human trafficking. We have all of the resources there, but we're wasting it by spreading it across the board. I want to simplify it by minimizing it. That way we can focus on the key issues and improve our state of living here in California. So those are some of the few things that I'll be doing to, again, make sure the people of California are safer, as well as, again, more independent from our federal government.
I'm going to turn it over to anyone here on the stream. Does anyone in the Calexit Congress have a question for Nicholas Wildstar? Again, you don't have to like the recall. You don't have to back the recall. But this is a chance to get to know potential leaders. And interviewing citizens choosing to take on the most sacred duty of a democracy running for office is inherently keeping that democracy alive and strong, just going through the motions. Questions for candidate Wildstar from anyone about anything?
Yeah, I've got a question. With California being one of the largest economies in the world and being one of the top producers of several dozen types of edible goods, food goods, it's a two-part. One, with all of the border crisis, border shutdown, border wall exclusion, and whatnot, California, obviously, our crops have paid a price for that. One, would you do something to rectify that situation in the hopes that California's crops will no longer suffer? And two, with that being done, would you increase, or would you at least be willing to look into increasing the amount of international trade, specifically with our food goods?
Exactly. Yes, I think that's a way to remedy it and improve it immediately, of course, is make sure that we're having a better trade relationship with other providers across the world. We have tankers, or what are they called? The ship liners off the coast right now that have goods and are being held up. They need to be docking, they need to be unloading those products, and we need to be having access to them. And I'm actually glad that you brought up the farming situation, because I feel like that's something that that is going completely ignored right now, because we need to make sure that we have food, food, water, and power and shelter. That's what the Wild Star campaign is about, making sure that you have the essentials. And, we need to think like survivalists right now. So I actually have a public event next week, Saturday, in San Diego at 151 Farms. You can visit 151farms.org. This is a farmer that has created, soilless, closed loop aquaponic systems. So these are ways to grow fruit and vegetables without using any soil. And of course, because of that, they're able to use less water, and they're able to grow those fruits and vegetables in a faster amount of time because of this process. So it's extremely innovative. I'm not, expert on all of this, and I don't need to be. I just need to know the people that are. And right now, I'm building those relationships with those people that do care about, again, making sure that the people of California have access to more food, better quality food, and quicker. So I, again, will be meeting with 151 Farms. No, if you go to 151farms.org, that's the debate coming up. But 151farms.org. .org. Yes, so please, you guys, check them out. It didn't pop up, 151farmers.org.
I'll try to pull it up right now. Okay. I wasn't able to get it to do that.
But I live in Fresno, which is Fresno County, Central Valley, one of the largest producers of our produce here in the state, as well as in the country, because California itself produces over half of the nation's fruits and vegetables, as well as the world. I think Jason pointed out in one of the meetings that California produces there we go, that's the website right there. So you guys can check out more about the soilless closed loop hydroponic systems there. Click on 151 Rock Farms at the top. So those are the systems there. Imagine if we had those in all of the, empty lots that we have here in Fresno. I mean, there are hundreds of them. They also use fish to help create I don't know what the hell, how it works. There's fish at the bottom of the tank there. It helps it grow faster. But again, come out next week, Saturday. Actually, TJ knows a lot about it. He probably can explain it a little bit more in detail. But
yeah, it's a loop system. The fish feed the plants. The fish feed the plants and are also your canary in the coal mine, if you will. They used to take canaries into coal mine because they need more oxygen than humans. If the canary passes out, you're in trouble. The fish are your canary in the coal mine, that they're not doing anything damaging to your food because the fish survive. The water circulates between the fish living in it and it being the food for the plants.
And there you have it. Thanks, TJ. But check out 151 farmers.org. And I'll be there next week, Saturday. We'll be speaking with the owner of 151 Farms, and I'll be there again presenting more information about how we can use community gardening to create generational wealth for people in the community.
Okay, next question. What is your position on sovereign citizens? And do you consider yourself one?
Well, we are all sovereign nationals here in America. America, again, is a sovereign nation. So us being inhabitants of this land, we are, again, sovereign nationals of this country. God gave us sovereignty as human beings. So we have sovereignty given by our Creator to, again, govern over ourselves. And I think that's what the creators of our country, the founders of our nation, wanted of the people of America, is for us to think independently, for us to think as if there are no kings or queens above us, although we've gotten to this position where we now have hundreds, if not thousands, of kings and queens, imposing their empirical rule over us all. We need to end that. And there is no such thing as a sovereign citizen, I've learned. It's actually a contradiction because you can't serve the state as well as fight the state at the same time. So when it comes to serving the master of the state, I am not one of those people. I serve the people who will be electing me, and those are, again, are sovereign individuals. And as a sovereign being myself, I will be making sure the policies that exist that violate an individual's sovereignty will be removed. That way we won't ever have to deal with that conflict ever again. You as a sovereign being always have the right to protect yourself by any means necessary. I, as an individual, can't take away that natural right that you have, that God-given right that you have. But again, we have public officials that feel otherwise, government officials. So we need to remove the policies that they're imposing to prevent an individual from being able to do so. You have the sovereign right as an individual to feed yourself and earn a living and live freely as you choose so. And take responsibility for your own actions. And we see that being violated right now with the impositions of this pandemic panic and the lockdowns and now vaccination mandates. No one should have to force, and now also our kids are being included in this by officials saying that they want to check their genitalia to make sure that they're male and female in our classrooms, or mutilate them altogether. And this is being done in the state of California. So we need to address that. I'm the person that will do so. And again, I'll do immediately on day one.
Okay, next question. Would you put California histories in elementary to high school? So what we found out here at Yes California is that most Californians are not aware of the early history. They have this fairy tale idea that
I covered. I'm not sure the curriculum now, but when I was in fifth grade, or fourth grade, in like 95 or 96, it was extensive California history for 1 year.
Yeah, exactly, like Robert's saying. So they do not teach the story. Basically goes like this. There was the Bear Flag Revolution. A couple Americans were here and they said that we're independent, and basically nobody fought and everybody was okay with that. And then the American government came in and everybody was largely cool with that. And then a few years later they had a vote and all the Americans said, let's join America. That's the story they teach. And while that's true, what they leave out is that there were people who fought back. They were executed. There were 5 generations of military generals running this place like an Iraq war zone for 5 years. Those generals would tell citizens, you don't have any rights and I make the law. The last general ordered the Constitution to be constructed. And during this period, women lost rights because women had the most rights in California at that time. Yes, early California was way more progressive for women's rights than America. So women lost. Segregation was introduced for the first time ever. Latino, Asian, and African American school children were separated from white colleagues in schools. Latinos lost all land rights largely. Asian people were forbidden from owning land. A formal genocide occurred during this period. And these are all the people who came in and made California choose to be a state. Additionally, the vote amongst Americans only included white males. And if you had brown skin, you didn't get to vote. All of that is not covered in California history. Is that cool? Or would you do something to get the record straight?
If I may, real quick, just to further that point, as you said, if your skin was not white, you did not get to vote in that issue. And the majority of human beings in the land of California at that time were people whose skin tone was not white. So literally, the majority being excluded, the absolute minority being the ones that, dictate the policy.
Yeah. My approach to government involvement in schools is to actually reduce the amount of influence that government officials and any policy, any legislation that's created because of that imposed on parents and children and educators across the state. We need to localize our educational system. That's what I'll be doing. I don't think that government officials should be dictating curriculum. I think that should be left up to parents and the educators and the students that are being taught that information. I, as a parent myself, definitely want to be able to have that authority when it comes over what my child is taught in the school that I'm paying for. And that's what's happening with our public educational system, because that's mainly what we're talking about here. Private schools get to teach whatever they want because that's being chosen by the parents that are sending their children to those schools because they're paying a tuition. Right now, parents don't have that amount of leverage because that money is taken away from them without their say-so and is given to whatever school, wherever it may be, instead of going to their local school and that local school know that it came from that parent. Then at which point, now that school has a responsibility to that parent and that household and what they want. That's what we want to do with shifting, again, the localization of funds and the governance of our school system by parents. There's a lot of things that are going on with our public educational system, which is why I feel like we should also be changing the motto itself to more like educational centers where people are invited to come in from all ages. You have security there, you have educators there, professors or whatever the case may be, to help provide hands-on training. But right now, there isn't anything that you can't learn online. Most people teach themselves. They're autodidactic. So we want to make sure that people, again, have access to more materials. And as a society, I think we can move to a better model of a way to achieving that instead of this one-size-fits-all way of doing things. So my goal as governor will be to minimize the amount of government involvement in our school systems so parents and teachers can have more control on the local level.
Okay. Next question. What would you do about tech-controlled censorship and freedom of speech in our modern times, given that we communicate so much on social media? Please keep those questions coming. We're going to do this for about another 20 minutes. Keep those questions in. Nicholas Wildstar, how do we handle censorship of the technology industry, given that most of it's created and exists here?
Yes, well, I believe that the internet is like a public space, and we, the people, occupy that public space, and it should be something that's always available to us. But we don't own anything. We expect all of this from people who own everything. So Jeff Bezos, Amazon, AWS, if they chose to flip the switch and turn off the lights on some of the servers, all of your websites go down. Your Facebook, your Twitter, your Instagram, all of that goes down. Just like they pulled the switch on Parler and removed it altogether. Now, if Parler had their own servers, if Parler had their own platform again to provide that, then that never could have happened. We, the people, should be in that position. We should have our own servers. We should have our own domains. That way we can create more public spaces, more Facebooks, more Twitters, and more YouTubes. That way it can be truly a opportunity for free enterprise and a way to deregulate things, since the majority of these technology companies are in California, is by, changing these antitrust laws, the monopolization that they have over the tech industry. It again prevents that innovation, and we don't want that. We never want to have our hands tied, and right now it's being tied because of these corporatists and their cozy relationships with our public representatives.
TJ Shelton, question?
Yeah, I had two. Okay, so I understand how you would like to nationalize, if you will, under the banner of California, some of our resources for the people. Could I expect from a WildStar governor who is taking the people seriously and the need to provide for the people seriously, would use some of these resources to have the internet be more of a public utility that is something that the public needs? And then another one that is really important to me and a lot of people I know, can you go on the record to say that you support medical freedom for me not to have to submit to these people's injections of untested things for my children?
I certainly will. You can be promised that by me. And I pledge that here now. I'm against medical tyranny. I'm against any type of mandates against you as an individual whatsoever. Your body, your territory, and there will be no forceful vaccinations at all. There will be no mandates of any presentation of that information whatsoever with me as governor as well. So you can definitely expect that with me as governor. But yes, you're absolutely right about the internet being a public utility. I believe that could also fall under the Go New Deal and this creation of this public-owned utility that I'm speaking of. If we are creating the structure, the foundation for us to have our own water and power, then why not make sure that we have that we're investing in the creation of our structure of our own internet services as well. So I completely agree. I think it's awful the way that the zoning of these technology companies prevent us as consumers, as buyers, from being able to have access to different internet service providers. I remember being a Clear customer, and I used to love Clear, the best internet, and it was cheap, and they were consistent. Next thing you know, they got I guess pushed out by Sprint, who owned, or I guess who they were using their satellites or whatever the case may be, and now they're gone. And only AT&T has dictatorship over this area, or Verizon or Sprint or whatever the case may be. We need to open that up to where, again, it's completely accessible for all customers, no matter where you are. And your coverage area needs to, again, be made to where you have multiple providers and better options.
Okay, next question is, how much would you pay out for the vaccine lottery? We're not going to do a debate on pandemics or anything like that at all, but this is a legitimate question. If you were governor, how would you handle the vaccine lottery? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Would you have paid a different amount?
I would not have paid any money at all. I definitely wouldn't be using taxpayers' money to incentivize for people to be injected with this mRNA, DNA altering technology, because that's what it is. People, do your homework, but this is indeed a DNA modifying tool that's being injected into your body. And right now, our tax dollars are being used by this governor to, again, incentivize that process. So he's technically a lobbyist for Big Pharma. And that is being challenged right now legally by people in the court of California. So we'll see what develops with that. But as it stands, I will not be promoting any particular product as governor. I haven't as a candidate, and you can expect me again to continue that behavior once I'm governor.
Okay, let's keep the questions coming. If anybody has a question for Governor candidate Nicholas Wildstar, again, just because we're majority progressives, but we do this thing where we believe that Californians build bridges, and the opposite culture to us only constructs walls. We think it's important to reach out to conservatives. We think it's important to have a wide variety of inputs. We think it's important to embrace diversity in both ethnic groups and opinions. And as Californians, we have many opinions, and we believe in keeping bridges intact. We embody that here every day. You don't have to support the recall. You don't have to like anything, but you do need to be informed. You do need to ask questions, and you should be making the decision for yourself rather than allowing the media to choose for you. And we're proud to make sure to provide you direct information to do that. Another question for you, Governor. Guns in California, good, bad? What would you do? A lot of Californians are against gun shootings and military-style weapons, but there's also the Constitution that says you have the right to those things. How do you stand? What's the right stance for Californians?
Well, the people of California are more supportive of people being able to protect themselves, since this is a issue of self-defense, than anything else, versus the legislators that, again, keep creating policies that infringe upon that natural right. So as governor, I will be nullifying any and all existing gun control laws to make California a constitutional carry state. So California, again, every elected official will be doing their job as I do, which is upholding their oath to uphold the United States Constitution. So within doing so, there will be that shift in policy. That means anybody that has been arrested for possession of a weapon will have their records expunged if they are free, but if they are still in jail, they'll be released from jail. And again, make sure they are cleared of any such of a criminal record. It's definitely, again, a violation of someone's human right for them to be able to protect themselves. And that's why the Constitution does exist. It's for government officials to stay in a box. It is not to be imposed on we the people. We have all sorts of rights that are not on that piece of paper. And that's where the 9th Amendment comes into play. So according to the 10th Amendment, we can change that law. And that's exactly what I'll be doing with my executive power as governor, is, again, nullifying all of those existing gun control laws to make California constitutional carry on day one.
Okay, we're winding down. A few more questions for Governor candidate Nicholas Wildstar, one of many candidates that is saying he's open to the idea of independence, and therefore we at Yes California love to back this person. So clearly you're an opponent of Gavin Newsom, as you said eloquently, and on many issues. But can you name one thing, to be fair, that Gavin Newsom has done well?
I don't see why that's necessary. I mean, the guy is clearly an awful governor, and everything that I thought that would be good, or ends up having a caveat to it. That's the saddest part about an untrue politician such as himself, is they only do things that only are self-serving versus that serves we the people of California. So I'm in humanitarian. I don't feel like our animals should be abused. I thought the fur ban would have been great because, of course, it's going to reduce the amount of animals that are being killed for furs. That didn't happen. During the pandemic, there were millions of mink that were slaughtered because those animals were believed to have had coronavirus. And through some loophole and this ban on sale of furs that Gavin Newsom has made, the sale of those furs continue on the black market now. So that's what those types of policies do, is when we think we're stopping one thing, we're creating another. Instead of just allowing people to live freely, have them make that choice to do so and make a more humane way to also to streamline that process. TJ?
Hey, yeah, I had another one. Okay, so on the one where the gentleman asked about guns, I agree with you and I support your position, but it made me think of another one that similarly many people have been incarcerated for small possessions of marijuana. People have been incarcerated for long periods of time for larger possessions of marijuana. We're in a situation in our state where we are going beyond decriminalization, but rather into regulation, and we are allowing large corporate interests to be the owners of these licenses of growth and distributing, to the point where there's a not-for-profit in our town who wanted to do it as a community activist thing, but they can't get a license. Before we get to a point where we are licensing large corporations to financially prosper off of this, shouldn't we address those who were criminally persecuted off of it?
Yes, indeed. I think the people that have been determined to be responsible for all of this should be the ones that are in jail, not the people that have been on the other end of it. It's sad that that we have a system that goes after drug dealers opposed to drug suppliers. And if there was some investigating done, we'd find that a lot of our public officials are involved in that. Here in Fresno, the second in command of the police chief was actually arrested for drug trafficking. He was investigated by our FBI, and they ended up discovering that he was, again, trafficking drugs through the Fresno Police Department. And it's crazy to think that our police chief himself was unaware of this, who is now our mayor. But again, I believe that with more transparency, we'll end up finding out that there was a lot more criminal activity involved. There were a lot more government corruption involved as well. And with that, there should be more arrest for those people involved in the facilitating of those type of goods. But I do support decriminalization. I believe that would eliminate the black market activity happening and a lot of the violent activity that happens due to that, and that's the biggest concern and fear of people in the community, not the drugs themselves, but the outcome of drug activity, so I would rather see a person, start their own business, selling marijuana or shrooms or whatever the case may be, instead of having their own lab in their home where they pose a danger to themselves and others by doing so. So if we remove that veil of, scrutiny and hypocrisy, because it's happening right now on a large scale. And there's tons of people that are involved on the power, on the elite level, and that are powerful people that are using drugs and doing all sorts of criminal stuff that we don't know about. So they're definitely being hypocritical on it. But my goal, again, as governor, is to be responsible to the people of California and being accountable to them.
Okay, we're going to do two more questions. Would you join an effort to ban predatory lending, including payday loans?
Yes. I forgot the name of the law particularly. There was one recently that actually expanded the amount of big bank control in our state. That's what my golden deal would do also, by deregulating our banking industry, by creating a People's Bank of California. So we can now have it be available to where, our cannabis industry is able to do legal banking, since they can't with the major banks right now. But it's a large cash on hand business. They need to be, able to do their banking safely. And with the People's Bank of California, they'd be able to do so. And that would also be an opportunity for people of the community to get zero interest loans, since usury is definitely an issue as well. And people of the Black and brown community that have been denied by these larger banks because they want to take out a small business loan and may not have all of the paperwork needed, or the amount of financial documentation, etc. But we want to make sure that the people that are low income, middle income, in need of help right now have access to that type of assistance, instead of it being through the means of taxpayer money like Gavin Newsom is doing right now with these stimulus payments. It's temporary, and it's basically using our own money to prop us up, instead of just getting out of the way and giving us an opportunity to continue to earn a living for ourselves. So predatory lending is something that needs to be approached. I actually used to work in helping people consolidate their loans, school loans, home loans, car loans, etc. And I've seen what it can do to people's lives firsthand. And it's terrible that a lot of these school loan companies are still getting away with it. Sallie Mae and Freddie Mac turned into Great Lakes and Navient because Barack Obama bailed them out with our tax dollars in 2008 or 2009 when he became president. So instead of us bailing out banks, bailing out these institutions, we need to be bailing out the people of California by, again, making sure they have access to their own money.
Amen.
Okay. We said we take all questions. So what would you do to deal with the rise of hate crimes against Asian Americans? And then we have one more question for you.
All right. Well, I don't think that any person should be assaulted or be harmed in any way based on their skin or sexual orientation or gender identity or whatever the case may be. Because of that, we should be harsh on violent activity in general. And that's exactly what I'll be doing as governor, is be making sure that any person that commits a violent crime against another person for any reason at all is facing a harsh sentencing, especially if it's determined that that crime was predatory, and I think that our law system needs to be outfitted to basically just focus on that itself, instead of being one, it focuses on prosecuting people over one particular sort of crimes versus another. If somebody attacks me as a person, I don't want them to be charged in criminal court for a hate crime against a Black person. I want them to be charged in the court of law for a crime against a person, a man, a human being, and someone who should be treated as such. So if we change the culture of our criminal justice system, our law system, then we'll also see a change in culture and society. We can shift away from looking at each other as being Black and white or Asian, and we're all Americans. We're all Californians first, So we need to make that our priority, and focus on, again, making sure that we have policies in place that represent that.
Okay. Last question. I'm not sure how this is totally relevant, but I'm told that it is. We have a lot of chemical industries here and research. Would you fund bioweapons labs in California? That to me seems like a military issue, which the governor couldn't do. I'm being told this is a legitimate question. So what is your stance on this?
No, I would not. I don't think there should be any government subsidization of any weapons facilitation or whatever the case may be. Weapons development companies, whether it be Boeing or any other company, they shouldn't be receiving taxpayers' money. If they want to sell weapons, they should be doing so on their own accord. It shouldn't be weapons that are paid for by taxpayers. So we need to end that relationship.
Hey, can I call you back in
And that's what I'll be doing as governor. All right. So good to know. All right, good answer. Anybody any questions? Real fast.
Yeah, I got one.
Okay, but we are off in 5 minutes. I'll just leave it there because I have a recall debate to go to. So 5 minutes, whatever you want to do.
So what about things like researching such things as a method of defense? Would you keep those in our territory, or would you allow, as is federally done now, for such research to be conducted in other places where we don't necessarily know if the money that is being provided by us to these foreign organizations are funding gain of function research? Because that seems to be a hot ticket item, is that we have funded virology labs that are supposedly for the defense of us against such things, but that some of these finances in these other nations and it have been used for gain of function research.
No, I don't think we should be funding gain of function research at all. I think if anything, that's something that should be done maybe on the university level or by private companies. And as far as us propping them up and paying for it with our money, I don't think we should be doing that. I don't think it serves us any benefit whatsoever. And here in the state of California, there are actually research going on in human hybrids, chimeras, and that's again being funded by the people of California. We shouldn't be paying for this type of research, especially again, there isn't being any immediate benefit of that research, and we have immediate needs as a community, like being able to keep a roof over our head and food on our table, and making sure that our brothers and sisters that are sleeping on the streets have a roof over their heads, or those people that are faced with that possibility have the help needed to prevent that from happening. So that's my approach as governors, to deal with the key issues that matters most to the people of California, reduce the amount of taxation and the amount of money that's being taken away from we the people to be used towards propping up these corporations.
Okay, one last question from Jason Wright, and then that's going to be a hard end because I got to get ready for recall. Jason Wright, one last question, and then this will be the end of the show. Jason Wright.
Yeah, given that the United Nations was initially founded here in California, actually right by where I live here in San Francisco, whether California is an independent nation or not, under your stewardship, under your leadership, if elected, would you be willing to pursue the United Nations to allow California a representative of sorts to partake in important world issues with the United Nations World Court?
I think that should be something that's done as a volunteer effort on a community level, not something that should be done as a official government body. I don't think that we should be having government officials involved in any type of foreign or world type of organization, international organization, because that creates a conflict of interest. Now we care about the desires and needs of the world versus the desires and needs of the people here in California. So if that's something that would be done on a community level, as an ambassador for you to be elected by the, selected by the people of California to, again, be the person that represents, I guess, as an ambassador in this group, then that would be great. But I, as governor, would not want to be involved myself in that type of organization.
Okay, thank you very much. I know there's more questions. I'm sorry. We have the recall debate in 1 hour. Got to get ready for that. So this will be the end of the show.
I wanted to see if there's
real super fast, please. Sorry.
Okay. There is a matter recently, I hate to continue the Yes California drama going, but recently there has been an issue that I feel like has been a matter of misrepresentation by Yes California, my campaign. There doesn't seem to have been any equality in representing me as a gubernatorial candidate, as I've seen recently with the Marinelli campaign. I had gotten involved with Yes California under the premise that every gubernatorial candidate would be represented equally. And as someone that was out there petitioning to collect signatures for the Yes California petition, the Calexit petition, and even though that information was shared with Yes California. It wasn't let known that, hey, this is again somebody you should vote for. I was even told that at a point in time, Yes California would not officially be endorsing any candidates, did not support any candidates, and did not support the recall. And now there seems to be a shift in that sentiment to where Marinelli's campaign is being promoted, and there hasn't been any mention of my campaign. There's even been cultivating of people to go out and collect signatures so he can get onto the ballot. That effort hasn't been done for me. There's even been a request for people to send in endorsement videos for him. That hasn't been done for me. And there's also been a even more so insulting effort to court my supporters and friends for their vote and for them to wear Marinelli t-shirts and endorse his campaign when they again have pledged to support me. So I feel like that's been insulting, an insulting development. And I feel like at this point, either Yes California should vote, this Yes California Congress should vote to either endorse a candidate or come to the agreement that all candidates that are backed by Yes California be represented equally, whether they are affiliated with Yes California or not. If they are supportive of Calexit, which I have been before I knew of Yes California, should be again supported by the Congress.
Any other comments? Okay. Well, now I have to address this. Thank you very much for saying your opinion. I really appreciate it. Everything you said is dealing with me. I made all those decisions. I did all of that. No one's to blame but me. So if anybody's upset, I, Marcus Ruiz Evans, am the only person to blame. It was all my decision, and he's talking about me. So I did not try to go behind people and steal votes. What I was asking for was that people would wear a shirt so that I could take photos. I additionally also asked Nicholas if I could wear a shirt of his campaign giving him an endorsement video. That's also what I did for Lewis. I additionally also went into Nicholas' house and asked if we could do a campaign promotional video. Additionally, I've been working with Nicholas on a Reform the California Republican Party platform where he would be the main spokesperson. That was an idea that I worked drafted with Nicholas, and I'm proud to do that, and that is a Yes California platform, and we are committed. That's a platform that's going to reach out to all Californians, and it's going to promote the WildStar campaign. Additionally, we were very proud to support Nicholas over the last 6 months, having him come on to different meetings, introducing him to different people, having members join his campaign, and I personally donated. I've also made other videos. One of the videos that Nicholas had for his campaign was when we went to the I Am SAC Foundation video. And it was my idea to go with him, film him, and make sure that we got him speaking about a community service event. So very proud to do that. I also went with Nicholas to Black Lives Matter rallies. I was the only person that went with him to film him. I've also tried to offer to volunteer to have a professional film editor create an additional package for him. And I have agreed that I would wear additional WildStar candidate shirts. Now, has there been more favoritism to Lewis? Well, Lewis is up on the Yes California page, and so that criticism is absolutely fair. That was my idea. And what I've told everybody, and I've had many conversations with Nick, and we went over this, was that in order to get media attention, you have to kind of play the game. So we've had Nick on a couple times. I've constantly talked well about Nick. I've constantly promoted him here on the show. I've helped make videos. I've helped donate. I helped film things. I've helped transport him to different events. But you're right. We never said officially, here's Nicholas WildStar. He's our only candidate. Whereas we gave the appearance of Lewis doing that, although we have never, and I have never said that we're only endorsing one and only one candidate. I've now done 2 separate endorsement videos giving unique packaging to both candidates. So they would be able to say that the president of Yes California is backing that person and have their own video. And I did it in high production quality and spent my own money to do it, and I was proud to do it. Additionally, we're looking at other people who may want to run. We frankly said, if you're willing to run as a candidate for independence, we want to back you. Now, I don't recall saying that we were never going to run a candidate, but let's say I did. I apologize. That was wrong of me. I made a mistake. I was wrong. The error is mine, and no one's alone. If anyone got the mistaken impression that we were not going to run any candidates and not endorse anybody, that's my fault and my fault alone. We want to support all candidates who support California and California independence and have California values. And that's why we love supporting Nick. And we love doing this hosting of this format. Additionally, one of the things that we're doing is the recall candidates debate. No one's doing anything like that. And one of the things that's going to happen, and I expressed multiple times to Nick and to Lewis and to others, is that really good candidates are going to shine. The media does not listen when you say, hey, look at me because I'm important. You can't say I have good ideas and you should pay attention to me. They don't care. They don't do their job. They're not actually out there to report real news. You have to take the narrative that they have and insert yourself into that. And so what we took was they want to go with Russia, 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 as we just talked about early on the show. Here's the Red Star report. We're all Russian spies. That's what they're looking at. So what we said was, if they're already having that fake angle, let's jump into that with the Marinelli for campaign from Russia. And we can get media attention from that to actually tell the truth. We've already demonstrated that that program worked. We got in international news. We have a couple reporters coming to the recall event. And for the first time in 2.5 years on live television, we had facts about Calexit actually get out. So the plan worked. Additionally, the plan was, and I've had multiple conversations with Nicholas Wildstar about this, to have that as a way to attract the media to the recall debate, where Nick is going to be the only candidate who's been in both of the recall debates, and as we hope would be in future ones. So he's actually getting more representation than any of the other candidates. And we're having a media vehicle to bring attention to Nick beyond anything that's been done before. So I understand that the appearance is of a focus on Louis Marinelli, and I get that. But I've already had multiple conversations with anyone who's asked over the last 2 weeks, where I have already thoroughly explained that this was a way to get media and focus and new members and money in a way that nobody's ever had for all of the candidates that we routinely feature here at Yes California. I'm sorry, we're out of time. I'll have to leave it there. I've made a commitment to the recall debate, and I want to keep it and make it as professional as possible. So I'm going to end the show. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you all in an hour. We're going to have the largest recall candidates debate of anyone at any time, and it'll showcase everybody who's been back. Nicholas Wildstar, Louis Marinelli. We had another candidate, Stephanie, we were hoping to come on. And I just hope that everybody sees that we are a place where you can voice anything you have to say, and we allow those comments unedited, and we try to give everybody a voice. I'll leave it there. Thank you. Sorry, out of time. Appreciate it.